Camilla had always had a delicate relationship with mirrors. Since adolescence, she would avoid looking directly at her reflection, as if something was wrong with it, something that shouldn't be seen. Her eyes would quickly scan past the glass, dodging contact, as if that image didn't belong to her. She wasn't unattractive, but she had grown up hearing she needed to change something. Your nose is too big. You'd be so pretty if you lost some weight. You have a pretty face, but the but always came. And it was with that word that she learned to see herself. Never enough, never whole. In front of the mirror, Camilla wore an invisible armor every day. Makeup, dark clothing, a hunched posture. It was like preparing to face a world that didn't truly see her, or only saw what it wanted to criticize. She developed silent rituals, avoiding mirrors in elevators, dodging cameras in meetings, smiling less so as not to draw attention. It was a choreography of self-erasure she performed with mastery. At 34, Camilla had a stable life. A good job as a literature teacher, a small and cozy apartment, a safe routine. She had friends, read a lot, and was respected at work. Yet the image in the mirror remained a quiet battle fought alone, a territory of pain and confrontation. One morning, as she prepared for another ordinary day, something inside her shifted. She looked into the mirror for a little longer. Dark circles under her eyes, the messy hair, the tired gaze. And in a moment of courage, she thought, I am more than this. That simple, almost whispered thought was a turning point. For the first time, she didn't look away immediately. She held the gaze, and she noticed there was fatigue, yes, but also strength. Strength for having endured, for still standing. It was a beginning. Camilla's first memory in front of a mirror was at 6 years old. She was dressed as a fairy for a school performance. Her mother was adjusting her tiara and said, "You look beautiful, but let's tame this wild hair." The tone was sweet, but the message stuck. Something was wrong with her natural beauty. The years that followed were marked by little corrections, always with good intentions. Don't smile like that. You show too many teeth. You need to control that frizz. Use stronger makeup, you'll look better on video. These phrases, said by loved ones, shaped how Camilla saw herself. An unfinished project, a body in constant repair. Even compliments came with conditions, with disguised demands. In her teens, she avoided photos, wore baggy clothes, and was afraid to draw attention. She compared herself to classmates who fit the beauty standards of the time. Slim, flawless skin, straight hair. She never felt like she belonged. And when she tried to conform, it felt like betrayal. Now, in front of the mirror, those memories returned like distant echoes. Camilla began to question. Had she been looking at herself through others' eyes all this time? Was the rejection she felt partly rooted in the expectation of being someone else? The questions piled up, bringing with them a discomforting but liberating clarity. At the school where she taught, Camilla started a reading project with her high school students. She chose books written by women, with real, flawed, human protagonists. Works like Child of the Dark by Carolina Maria de Jesus and The Color Purple by Alice Walker. During one of the discussion circles, a student said, "Sometimes I think I'm ugly, not like the girls on Instagram." Camilla saw herself in that teenager. Her heart tightened. Other students began to share their insecurities too. Their noses, hair, skin, bodies. One by one they opened up. The words were heavy with pain and relief. That afternoon, Camilla understood something deep. They were all wounded. The pain of feeling insufficient wasn't just hers. It belonged to all of them. And maybe, if they talked about it, they could heal together. The vulnerability that surfaced was, paradoxically, a source of strength. She then proposed a new activity. Each girl would write a letter to herself, praising something she usually didn't value. The result was moving. Many cried. Camilla did too. Some girls wrote kind words about themselves for the first time. In that moment, something shifted in the room. There was empathy, comfort, listening. Inspired by her students, Camilla decided to do the same. She sat at her desk, took a deep breath, and wrote to herself. Dear Camilla, I like your wide smile. It's genuine. I like your forehead when it wrinkles in thought. Your hands, which hold books with love. I like the way you teach, the way you listen. After writing, she placed the letter beside the mirror. The next morning, she read it aloud before leaving the house. And for the first time in many years, she smiled at her reflection. It wasn't a full smile, perhaps even shy, but it was sincere. She began to allow herself small acts of love, wearing a different lipstick, leaving her hair natural, taking selfies without filters. The image that once brought discomfort was now beginning to offer comfort. The days still held challenges, but something in her gaze had changed. Camilla realized she didn't need to fit in. She needed to recognize herself. And slowly, she began to inhabit her own body with more presence, more truth. On the last day of the semester, Camilla brought a mirror into the classroom. She asked each student to say something beautiful about themselves aloud. Many resisted, some cried, others smiled shyly. But all of them, in some way, managed to do it. When her turn came, Camilla looked into the mirror and said, I am enough. With everything I am, with everything I carry, I see myself. The words came out firm. It was more than an affirmation. It was a commitment. The mirror passed from hand to hand, and the room filled with a new energy of acceptance, truth, love. It wasn't about vanity. It was about identity, about rewriting the narrative so many carried in silence. From that day forward, Camilla began to call the project Free Mirrors, a space for women to see themselves without the weight of judgment, without the but. A place where beauty wasn't measured, it was felt. The letters were kept in a special box in the classroom, a reliquary of self-esteem and progress. Camilla still has difficult days. Days when the mirror seems foggy, when old voices try to return. But now she has tools. She has memories of girls freeing themselves, words written with love to herself, a free mirror at home. She created an online page to share stories like hers. Women began to write in, send photos, share silent transformations. The movement grew. It wasn't about aesthetics. It was about courage, about showing up even when afraid. And in that same mirror that was once her greatest enemy, Camilla now sees herself as she is, whole, complex, beautiful. Not for being ready or ideal, but for being alive, truthful, present. She smiled more, spoke with more confidence, even allowed herself to be photographed. Because beauty, when it meets truth, sets you free. And that is the most beautiful reflection of all. Camilla decided to organize an in-person meeting with some of her followers. The event would be simple: a discussion circle, mirrors at the center of the room, letters and exchanges. Women of different ages and backgrounds traveled from far away to participate. The stories intertwined like threads of the same tapestry. They laughed, cried, recognized each other. It was as if each one gave voice to a forgotten part of the others. Camilla moved, realized that this project was no longer just hers, it was collective. Months after launching the online page, Camilla received an unexpected message on a quiet afternoon. It was from Julia, a former student who was now the mother of a 5-year-old girl. The message was simple, yet profound. Teacher, thank you. After your project, I started raising my daughter with different words, without the but. I want her to grow up with a clean mirror, without guilt. Camilla read the message several times, her eyes filled with tears. There was the echo of what she had planted. It was no longer about herself. It was about the next generation. She thought about how her story had touched others, resonating in voices now forging new paths. She felt a new weight of responsibility in her chest. It was no longer enough to speak only to the girls. The boys needed this conversation too. After all, they also carried pressures, expectations, distorted images of strength and beauty. And more than that, they were a fundamental part of the reconstruction. The following week, she brought the proposal to the school. She spoke with the administration and introduced a new branch of the Free Mirrors Project, a series of mixed discussion circles covering topics like respect, empathy, the body, and identity. The response was positive, though some colleagues were cautious. She was ready. In the first circle, the students were skeptical. Their gazes were scattered, a few muffled laughs. But Camilla knew that was how it would be. She began with a personal story about how, at 13, a classmate once told her that her smile was weird, and how that silenced her for years. The room fell silent. One by one, the students began to open up. A boy shared that he hated his thin body. Another spoke about the pressure to always be the strong one, the leader. The girls listened, and together, they created a new language of understanding. It felt like, in that moment, they were collectively wiping a shared mirror clean. Camilla left those conversations exhausted, but renewed. For the first time, she felt that the transformation wasn't just symbolic. It was practical, human, necessary. The reflection truly needed to include everyone. And she was becoming more than a teacher. She was becoming a living bridge between wounds and healing, between generations. As the end of the semester approached, Camilla felt the need to close the cycle with something symbolic. She thought about all the letters written so far, to the present, to the past. And then she proposed something new, writing letters to the future. During the last week of class, she walked into the room with colorful envelopes and decorated paper. She explained the idea. I want you to write letters to yourselves 5 years from now. How would you like to see yourself? What do you hope to have learned? What kind of beauty do you want to nurture? The atmosphere, initially relaxed, became introspective. Some students wrote with their heads down, silent tears falling. Others paused for long minutes before writing, deep in thought. Camilla walked among them, her heart tight with emotion. She wrote her own letter too. She sat at the back of the room like any other student and let her pen flow. Camilla, I hope you never forget who you are, even on the days when the mirror tries to lie. May you see beyond the wrinkles, the scars, the comparisons. May you continue to love what is uniquely yours. You are your own truth. She stored the letter carefully. At the end of the class, everyone sealed their envelopes. She promised to deliver them in 5 years. A silent promise, but full of hope. More than an activity, that letter was a reminder. The journey didn't end there. It was ongoing, ever-changing, like the reflection in a mirror. But now, there was courage. And where there is courage, there is beauty. On the wall of her home, Camilla removed the frame from the mirror. She wanted it to be just glass. No ornaments, no limits. Just like her, transparent, open, whole. The reflection was no longer a judgment. It was a reunion. And in that daily reunion, Camilla understood that the beauty that remains is the one that stands the test of time, the one born from the courage to look at yourself, and finally to recognize who you are. If this touched your heart, cue the video, share it with another woman who needs to see herself with love. Subscribe to the Stay Bella channel. You are beautiful, without the but.